Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of HairTube. I'd like to introduce you to Chantel. Chantel's our model for today. We're going to be doing a really cool haircut on Chantel. We're working with the length she already has, probably taking it up just above her shoulder. She actually has naturally curly hair. If you just have a look, her regrowth's quite curly. She straightened her hair today, so it'd be interesting to see the way I do this, because one of the things you're going to learn today is to make sure that you have versatility in the styling with the haircut. So cutting the hair so it can be worn straight only on curly hair can sometimes spell disaster for your clients. So with Chantel, I'm going to have to make sure that I give her a cut and a style, and when I layer it and texture it, it suits both curly styling and straight styling. So we're also going to do some colour today, so you'll get to have a look at that towards the end as well, but we're going to start with the haircut. So let's get going. So I wasn't kidding, right? Like, you can actually see now that I've shampooed Chantel's hair using the Hydrosource shampoo and conditioner. You can see it's actually very, very, very curly and tight. So like I said to you guys, one thing you can learn from this haircut is that you can create haircuts that can be worn curly and straight, provided you follow these two simple rules. First rule is, always make sure that you have a strong foundation on the ends, and never use texturizing scissors to texture the hair. You always, for me, I've found that texturizing scissors, or as they're awfully known as thinning scissors, they're like dropping a bomb. It's like dropping a bomb inside a plastic pipe. You put and it just goes bang. And you just end up shattering the whole hair. So when it's worn curly and naturally, it always looks frizzy. So when texturizing, intelligently texturize the hair with point cutting. So you'll see a little bit of that a little bit later on. Let's get started on this foundation. One way that I have cut hair like Chantel's in the past, especially if we're doing things like bob shapes, sometimes I actually blow dry the hair really straight and cut the whole thing dry, but for this particular video, I'm going to do it wet. So always starting with the center parting. The reason why I start with the center parting is, for me, it's very important that you get symmetry in the hair, or symmetry, not symmetry, symmetry. And the only way to do that is with the center part, straight through to the back. And we're going to start with the baseline in the back. The other thing, when cutting curly hair, I actually, if I'm not going to straighten the hair and cut it dry, I actually then do the complete opposite. You can see that the hair is very wet, and I find it easier to manage cutting curly hair when it's really wet or dry, nothing in between. So I'm going to start in the middle. Not too much tension, but just enough to control the hair. So one thing we're doing with this haircut is we're actually bringing it all to the back. So what that's going to do is we're going to end up with strength here. When this comes back, falling forward, you end up with this square point in the front. It's not concave, but you end up with these really nice points in the front, which you see in a lot of the mid-length or lobbed length haircuts at the moment, and that's how that's achieved. I was challenged recently on my channel that I never do anyone with curly or challenging hair. And I think it's fair to say that Chantel's hair, albeit still very beautiful, is challenging. Just be sure that when you're cutting curly hair like this, that you try and consciously think about the tension you're applying to the hair. It's really important that you don't put too much pressure graduation on the ends, because at the end we will need to clean it out a little bit like this. And what pressure graduation does is it really affects the way that the hair sits on the ends. Good. Look how much that springs up. That is certainly curly. You weren't kidding, huh? How you feeling, Chantel?
Really good.
You good? You're not nervous?
No.
That's good. One thing I'm very mindful of doing when I'm working with these shapes is I just want to make sure that I'm working within the head shape. So the hair's being projected back to here. I'm not doing it out here. It's not that that's wrong, it's just not the shape we're trying to create. So really important that you're working almost in rectangles. Really making sure we bring that back within that head shape. This is why I like using wide or long combs, because you can really make sure that you're cutting parallel to your parting. You can put that comb in, fingers in behind, and really make sure that you're staying inside that head shape. That's how we're going to create that real boxy squareness on the ends, or on the perimeter, on the interior shape. In terms of my sectioning, it's something I teach a lot when I'm traveling around the country with Matrix, is that we need to work efficiently and intelligently with our section. So although Chantel has quite curly hair, it's actually quite manageable in terms of its thickness and density. So I'm not going to spend, 40 extra minutes cutting her hair because I'm going to go through and take perfect half-centimetre sections. I think it's really important as commercial hairdressers that we acknowledge that we do have to work with time constraints, and because of that we need to take each head and each hair on its face value, and if we can get away with taking larger sections, as long as you're not compromising the result, I think that's okay to do so. So once I've done that, I'm just going to quickly visually check my length. I always like to unbutton the cape, and this is when I go back and I cut my pressure graduation out. So I'll just get Chantel just to dip her chin slightly and bring my fingers in behind the comb, and if you have any little long bits hanging out like that, just snip them off. I know they're only tiny, tiny little pieces of hair, but it actually does make a big difference, because short hair directs long hair. So if you've got hair poking out from underneath there, it's going to affect the way that those ends sit. That's really important that you make sure you get that right. Beautiful, really nice. You guys can see that that's really rectangular and square. Again, something I speak about all the time is making the ends of your haircut count, because it makes the haircut look really, you know, really high quality, really expensive, I guess you could say, because what that does is it gives it that real strong, sharp foundation on the ends. It gives it a little bit of extra edge. I mean, I'm not saying that point cutting the ends and making it look textured isn't cool, but this is a really great alternative to that. So if you're going to make it strong, make it count. Bringing the rest of the hair from the front to the back, I'm actually now going to cut it on the skin. The reason why I'm happy to do this is because I've checked that foundation underneath and I know that it's super strong, and I'm confident to cut on top of it. And then we're going to bring the rest of this all the way back. Again, like I said before, happy to work in quite large sections because I can manage this amount of hair. So essentially, the front of Chantel's hair, or the length in the front around the face, is going to remain unchanged. And now for the last section, what we make sure we do, and I'll just swing it around so you guys can see, is I just want to make sure now we remove that part. We're actually going to comb everything straight to the back and cut it here. Chin down a little bit. Thanks, gorgeous. Again, always thinking along the way, is my tension and my combing consistent? You don't want to put lots of tension on one section and not that much on another. You're going to get a lot of inconsistencies in the ends. I don't know if you guys just noticed that, but there was almost nothing to cut off this side, which obviously had something to do with the previous haircut because I hadn't cut that yet. And what I'm just going to have to make sure is that this side is the same now. It's great. This way slightly. Thanks, gorgeous. All right, so that's our baseline done. So you can see what that's done. You can see that the back's obviously slightly shorter than the front. Let's leave those beautiful points in the front. Chantel has a beautiful elongated upper body and a long neck, and that just accentuates that and makes it look even longer, which I think is great. You can see slightly shorter in the back, coming down to the front. Some people might argue the point that it is concave. I guess technically it's not, because concave actually needs to have a concave shape. So concave needs to actually be almost diagonal, like this, diagonal forward. Cool. Its front we haven't even changed the length in the front. It's exactly the same. All right, so now we'll just check the sides. This is something that I do a lot. So I like to turn my client to the side, pull the cape out, push it in there. If you could just look in the mirror for me, Chantel, thank you. This way we get to check the side of our haircut without having the shoulder in the way. It's something that people battle with a lot. It's a simple little tip that allows you now to get into the side of the cut without having to have the shoulder as an obstacle. Make sure when you're going through here, don't cut those points out that we work so hard to create in the back of the shape, because that would be a shame. I'm just going to spin Chantel around. Now we're just going to have to pretend you're looking in the mirror. Yep, thank you. Just looking for those little pieces that are just hanging underneath. A great way to do it is, and I usually do this once the hair's been dried, is I use my comb, scissor in behind, just to pull it out. You can see those little longer hairs, and we just clip them off. All right, so now it's time to get to the front. With Chantel's haircut, again, as I mentioned, we've just spent all this time creating these beautiful points in the front. I think they're the same. See, this side looks a little bit longer. Let me go back and check that. And it is. Okay. Good. All right, so we're talking piece. Yep. So I've just spent all this time being really, really careful about not cutting these points out. So it would be a shame to then go and layer the front, which then cuts this shorter. So we've just got to work with a little section here that'll give Chantel some bangs, so that if she puts her hair up or throws it back, she's still got some softness on her face if she wants to pull that out. Gives us a little bit of option in the front, but yeah, still making sure we don't cut these. So we're actually going to do this in one big section. So we're going to work from the parting. So going back to partings, we're working with natural parting. Natural parting I find when I comb the hair back and just gently push the hair forward, where it parts on its own is generally where I like to work the shape in the front, because it makes it easy to style. You know, we're not going to have to fight with the growth pattern. We're going with it rather than against it. So working with that, we're just going to go about 6 centimeters back. Let me just come around here so I can see. I'm just going to go about 6 centimeters back and not very wide, making sure that we have this point still here. And there. So we've got a nice little pie shape, triangle shape. It's a little bit too much on that side. Just take a little bit out. Yeah. $90 degrees to the scalp, the head, and we're going to take it off about there. And then just going to give that a slight little angle just to make sure that the hair underneath is longer than the hair on the top. The reason why I like to do that is if the hair underneath is shorter than the hair on the top, what you find is it'll actually push the hair away. So that's how you create that effect where the hair naturally pushes away. And then very gently just break that up with a little bit of point cutting. We'll see how that sits. I can't see it, but it feels good. Yep. So just gonna have that beautiful, I mean, she's got amazing cheeks. So you just have that softness there, and then you keep this length in, which I think is really important. Cool. That's heaps good. All right, and that brings us to the back. So I mentioned in the beginning of the video that with Chantel's haircut, one of the things that we were going to keep in mind is that she may want to wear her hair curly. And because of that, we need to be careful about how we loosen the interior, or the exterior of a hair cut up. So we're going to use quite a simple, basic layering technique. So just where the head starts to round back, I'll spin around this way so you can see a bit better. You can see just how strong that curl is. Like super strong that movement is. So just want to make sure that we don't go and overlay the hair and make it really tight curls. So literally just going to take a tiny little bit off the ends. I'm actually going to use slightly angled projection, just so we've got that tiny little bit of variation without disrupting the ends. So once I've set my guideline in there, we're actually going to bring this entire section back to the middle. Again, we discussed about working efficiently and intelligently with our sectioning. We don't need to take 10 sections just to do that little bit of hair. And we're going to bring it back to this part of the middle. Hey, Michelle. Michelle just arrived, snuck in. It's literally this much. It might not seem like a lot, but it actually makes a big difference. And then again, no texturizing scissors or thinning scissors. We're just going to very gently point cut that, creating shorter pieces amongst the length. So it just breaks it up a little bit. But with Chantel's hair, we won't do any texturizing as such until it's completely dry. So similarly as we did with the baseline, with the top, we're going to bring it all back. You'll probably see a little bit more hair come off here. That's fine, provided that you're over directing it to the back. I like to work from left to right so that I can check balance as I'm going through. Really important. So after you've done one pass left to right, just give it a little shake, make sure you're on track, make sure it's the same on both sides. Good. And again, like you've seen in my other videos, I like to bring it all together. It's a little bit tricky. For those of us with big hands, it's a bit easier. But you can split it into a couple of sections just to make sure that we haven't missed any. And again, no thinning scissors. We're just going to leave about 1 inch towards the ends, and we're actually going to create some V's in there. So we're cutting short hair amongst long hair, and what that does is create movement and separation. Head back, Chantel. Thank you. Just loosen it up so you can see the effect. And you can see you get that beautiful stacking, nice soft layering. Nothing too classic, nothing too chunky. That's going to work really well with curls. If she scrunches it, put some mousse, some airy builder, some even smooth setter would be great to scrunch into this. You see you're going to get that beautiful curl come out. And then in the front, we've got that shape that we created there just to complement the cheekbones. And we've got that length coming through the front. So you're just going to get that nice little bit of frame. The great thing about cutting bangs like this in is it actually is going to hold the hair back off the face. So you absolutely wear that curly. It's quite interesting hair because I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but you can see areas that are quite curly, and you've got areas like this that are perfectly straight. Hey, it's pretty bizarre. I love it, looks great. A little bit of a 360. You can really see how that is holding that hair back, and then you just get that nice soft curl forming through there. It's really good. You can absolutely wear that curly. I'm going to straighten Chantel's hair for 2 reasons. One, I want you guys to see the shape straight, and the second reason is Isabel will be here soon and she's going to be colouring Chantel's hair. I believe we're doing some lightening on the ends, and what we find at Axis is that if we're going to do ombre or balayage or some freehand lightening on people with curly hair, sometimes it's easier to manage if it's straightened first, especially if they're going to wear their hair straight more than curly. So they're the 2 reasons why we're going to do that. So as always, my trusty products, never leave home without it. Buy a large hydrosaur spray, and I'm just going to use a little bit of smooth setter. I don't want to load it up with too much product for the colour. Like with every blow dry I do, I'll start with the paddle brush, and then as I get towards the ends and it starts drying, we'll absolutely grab a large diameter ceramic round brush so that we can smooth it out. Wow, in the back here it's really, really, really tight. And then in the front here it's almost straight. It's good actually because you can see the shape coming out there. Even though the texture could be tamed quite a lot with some product, the silhouette's right. You can actually see, you get that boldness through the back, sort of draws the head back, that strength through the side, complements the neck. You know, shoulder, get some height in there, have these little bangs keeping the hair back off the face, framing the cheeks, so works well. Let's get drying, eh? A lot of hairdressers really struggle with straightening hair, and I think it's because they don't understand the technology that goes into a lot of products, especially a product like Smooth Setter. I mean, this product's amazing. I guess when, you know, going back years ago, sorry Chantel, I guess going back years ago, you know, I've been a hairdresser 17 years now. A lot of the products that we use for styling and blow drying had contained a lot of alcohol. So what we found is that if we pre-dried the hair, we couldn't get the curl or the movement out when we wore it straight. And the reason why is obviously you're dealing with the hydrogen bond, and when you don't have any moisture left in the hair, it's then very, very hard to remove the curl or the movement and get it straight. What we find with the new technology products such as Smooth Setter is they actually contain lots of moisture in them. So what it allows you to do is use a great paddle brush like this, and this is the best one I've ever used, without a doubt. There's a plug, Tracy, Evie. It allows us to actually, again, going back to being a commercial stylist, is to work intelligently and pre-dry the hair. And when we pre-dry the hair, we're not going to compromise the outcome by not being able to get it smooth. So by using a great paddle brush, some Smooth Setter, and a strong hot blow dryer, you can actually get 90% of the movement out and get it 80% dry and cut your blow dry time by about 50%. So let's see if my theory is right. And this is curly hair, so let's see if I can get it smooth with this. So you can see, even on that really, really curly hair, just using a paddle brush and the smooth setter, how much of the curl we've pulled out already. The hair still has some moisture in it. Like I said, mainly due to the fact that smooth setter is a product that maintains, well, I use Hydrosource spray, so it maintains your hydration. It also is going to leave enough moisture in the hair now for us to just really, really simply just, you know, push the hair out of the way. And just with a couple of passes through, we should be able to get this super, super straight and smooth. Just like that. So when I'm blow drying, I actually use cold air to section the hair, just to push it out of the way. Very rarely do I use clips to blow dry hair. Sometimes even in long hair, I don't use clips. So I think it's you can see, you know, some people would say that his hair is very, very tight, very, very curly, but you can see how effortlessly and how quickly we're working through to straighten his hair out. Are you dizzy, Chantel? Just keep spinning you around. I got the first little cheeky smile. Happy? Looks great, huh? So you guys probably noticed that during the blow dry, there was a little bit of smoke coming off the hair. There's no need to be alarmed by that. Essentially what that is a lot of straightening products contain ingredients like glycerin and silicons, which protect the hair from the heat. And they essentially dissipate once the heat's applied to them, so you don't have to freak out. But you guys can't feel it, I can. It feels incredible. It feels beautiful. Right, now we need to check the sides. So, need to change the scissors. We're going to use a really long blade. Again, Chantel, I'm going to get you to look into the mirror, please, if you could. This is where we get to check our ends and make sure they are perfect. Hi, Michelle. Flip it to the other side. Again, I like to put my scissor in behind, hold it with the hair and just gently push it forward so you can see that line. You can see it's pretty good. There's just a few little burrs we've just got to take off there. Again, I always say when I teach my classes all around is make the ends count. They're very, very important. Very, very important. Bad, but it's not perfect and it needs to be. So. All right, so What we did in the front, to recall, we cut this shape. So all we just want to do is soften it lightly. And if you need to make any adjustments to it, now's the time to do that. So just resection it out. It's going to include a little bit more hair in it, I've decided, because once I've texturized the hair, it's going to be lighter, and I just want it to still have quite a strong frame for the face. So in the back we did a little bit of layering, and the beautiful thing about the way we layer hair at Axis is that it doesn't look like it's layered at all. And then when we move the hair around, you can see that it's got some layers in it. I'm just going to go for and very gently break some of this weight up a little bit, not too much, mainly just through the ends. And the way I like to do this, is very gently point cutting the ends, so working starting in the middle. Always projecting the hair at 90 degrees. And just working up to the occipital bone, which is where I'll stop. Making sure that you cut straight in. We don't want to cut any chunks. We want it to still be seamless and flow. Then we'll do the other side. Always projecting at 90 degrees, up to the occipital bone, then we'll stop. And that's when we'll come back through here, and we'll find where we originally layered the hair, and you can see it there. You can see that little round off there, which just gives us that little bit of movement. Underneath that is where we want to address, just underneath here. So again, just very gently with straight blades. Working in through the side. Over directing it all to the back, as we did when we layered. Something I think I mentioned in the last video, it's really important that you texturize the same way that you layered the hair, because you want to go with the shape and not against it. Yeah, really, really important. Again, we're just texturizing underneath where we laid it. So again, you can see this is that little variation in shape we did when we laid it, and we're just texturizing underneath there. So we're leaving that top alone. We don't want to disrupt that, because if you texturize on top, that will make the curl frizzy. We want it underneath. Last section. lucky last. We're going to take a section straight through the middle over where the parting is. I'll come this way actually. Right over where the parting is. You can see where our bang is there. We're going to shift the distribution to the back. So shift the distribution. And then very, very gently. So over the parting. You see where our bang is here in the front. We're going to use that as a guide. We're going to shift the distribution to the rear. Like this. And then we're very, very gently you can see we're just very gently taking off. That's just going to soften around the face. You can take a whole section on the side. Most of it won't reach. Again, we bring it back. You can see a little guideline there. There's the guideline just behind. Don't drop it. Texturize that all at once. Just through the ends. Let it go. We're going to repeat on the other side. Bring everything to the middle. Shifting it towards the back again. And I think we're done. I think. Just want to check that shape in the front. Just break it up a little. On this side. Head forward, Chantal. Head in. Still a little bit off. Just check it again. It was a little bit. Just a little bit is enough. Okay, so grab ourselves a tiny little bit of texture builder. Mainly for grip. And I'm actually going to use something you probably would never think of for a styling product, and that's a little bit of mousse. Mousse is great. So I'm just going to spin Chantal around so I can see, so I can dress this out for you. Mousse is really great to get separation. So we've got that. Let me just take this off so we can see. Sorry, I made you be hairy too, didn't I? beautiful shape in the front, just for the cheekbones. Kept those points in the front, coming through the side. You can see the silhouette that gives on the face. Just really gently back, keeping the points there. Beautiful layering, seamless again. If you wore it all smooth, it looks like it's completely all one length. You need volume, you've got it. The layering will work really well with curls. Coming through this side, the layering that we did last through the top has the impact through here. So what that does is it flows with this front shape into the side. That's where this comes in. What do you reckon? I think it looks beautiful. You did before, but your haircut makes it look even more beautiful. So, styling alternative is, we had it obviously like this. And one of the things we can do is pull this behind the ear. We can now brush this to the side, using a little bit of our volume fixer just to spray down those few little flyaways behind the ear. Really nice and strong in here. And then we can pull this way. You can wear it off to the side. So that's the alternative. Beautiful. What do you think?
I love it.
You look great. Really good. All right, let's do some colour, huh? Love you guys. Thank you.